Hello students, welcome to the lecture on Introduction to Human Resource Management. And after the lecture we will be able to learn the following objectives. Explain the concept of HRM, define the objectives of human resource management, describe the functions of human resource management, explain the importance of human resource management, and discuss the human resource development, describe the limitations of HRM. Let's start with a brief introduction to human resource management. Human resource management (HRM) is a relatively new approach to managing people in any organization. People are considered the key resource in this approach. It is concerned with the people dimension in management of an organization. Since an organization is a body of people, the acquisition, development of skills, motivation for higher levels of attainments, as well as ensuring maintenance of their level of commitment are all significant activities. Human resource management is a process which consists of four main activities, namely acquisition, development, motivation, as well as maintenance of human resources. Human resource management is responsible for maintaining good human relations in the organization. It is also concerned with the development of individuals and achieving integration of goals of the organization and those of the individuals. Let's discuss the concept of HRM. According to Edwin B. Flipt, human resource management is the planning, organizing, directing, and controlling of the procurement, development resources to the end that individual and societal objectives are accomplished. This definition reveals that HR management is that aspect of management which deals with the planning, organizing, directing, and controlling the personnel functions of the enterprise.
So let's start with the roles. The roles of the HR professional in human resources can be contained in about four buckets. The first is the idea of attracting and selecting. So as you get further into human resources, you might hear about things called employment brands and your recruiting function and your interviewing function and all that goes with deciding who will work at your organization and where they will work falls under this role. Second is developing. In this bucket, you'll find things like performance evaluations, which are not just used to determine compensation, but they should be used in order to identify key elements of needed training. This is where education reimbursement would go. And those things also, the availability of training and education reimbursement, as well as compensation, salary, and benefits fall under the retaining function of human resources. So why would an employee choose to stay at your organization? Now these can be monetary things like we mentioned or I've mentioned, or they can be non-monetary things like flexible schedules, telecommuting, the ability to have some perks, different incentives that may be time off, etc. All fall under retaining. And finally, terminating is also an important role. Not all employees work out. There are shifts in strategy. There are opportunities for a promotion for some, and others are ready to retire. So it's important that this piece of human resources be handled just as strategically as attracting and selecting. So let's talk about really one of the crux areas of human resources, and that's not policy, but it's to understand the laws that have been put in place in order to support human resources policies that we have today. So the first one I'm going to talk to you about, which is in your text Better Business, is equal employment opportunity. And definitely this falls in your bucket of attracting and selecting the right employees. In 1965, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission was put together in order to ensure that protected classes, which we'll look at next, have an opportunity of the same type as other groups or non-protected groups. You'll notice I did not say that there's a quota. In fact, quotas are illegal. It is the opportunity of everyone to be able to interview for and be considered for employment in as fair a method as possible. So this is equal opportunity through the protection of protected classes, because in 1965 those protected classes were historically the most damaged by hiring practices. And what happens is the hiring practices become, well, the way we do things. We forget that with the Civil Rights Act in 1964, which is a critical act in human resources law and employment law, it actually precedes the EEOC. And the point of this is to prohibit discrimination. Well, why would someone say prohibit discrimination in this day and age? Well, there is a more systematic way. So for example, let's say that your organization has always placed employment ads in the local newspaper and online. Well, have you ever wondered what the demographics of the local newspaper and online readers of job ads are? Are you missing an opportunity to reach out to groups that you may not have considered, and therefore limiting the talent that you can bring into your organization? So in 1964, the discussion was around protection, and it does prohibit discrimination on race, color, gender, religion, national origin, and I've added here sexual orientation. Minnesota is one of the 21 states that have included sexual orientation under the protected classes. Not all states have that, and in some states people can be flat out fired for their sexual orientation, and nothing that actually has to do with their essential job function. We'll talk about that next. In 1990, you'll notice that's not that long ago, Americans with disabilities could be fired without cause, right? So we have an employment at will agreement with our employees. So the ADA, which is short for this act, prohibits discrimination against people with disabilities. Now the act says prohibits discrimination against disabilities. If you look at the crux of this, however, it's the people that are being discriminated against. In this case, they happen to have disabilities. And the question employment hiring managers, HR professionals have to ask is that truly an essential job function that you are firing that person for? For example, I know of a trainer, someone who trains people how to use computers, who is completely blind. How could that possibly work? Well, with some software support, he is able to continue his job, actually being able to see exactly the same way as everyone else, did not affect his job. And so his essential job function was not affected, and he was able to continue working. Now, undue hardship is often brought up with ADA, and that is true. It cannot be something that produces undue hardship on an organization, but often this is viewed purely as money. How much money am I putting out for this one person? If you look at CourageCenter.org, you'll notice that there is benefits to all employees with some of the changes that make work more accessible for people with disabilities, and you will have a richer, more diverse workforce, which gives you a richer and more diverse consumer base as well. Finally, Age Discrimination in Employment Act. This is closer to the first two acts in 1967, ADEA, where discrimination based on age, or advertising including an age preference. We want someone, 20 to 25. We want someone, 18, unless it has some legal basis. For example, pilots, it is okay to say that you have to be under the age of 60 to be a pilot, because there is scientific evidence that after the age of 60, most Americans' eyesight is affected, and that is, of course, an essential job function. Even though computers fly planes, you need to see the dials, and they're small, and you need to be able to land in case of the computer's not working. So in that case, it is important. But what would being 21 or 25 or 45 doesn't affect something like sales. It doesn't affect something like janitorial. It doesn't affect, in a way, even management functions, provided you have the other essential ingredients to be successful in that job. So the laws affecting HR, both Equal Opportunity Civil Rights Act, American with Disabilities, and age discrimination, although it sounds like are primarily in the attracting and selecting area. Remember that once someone is brought in, it is the organization's responsibility to create a safe workplace for all of their employees and development opportunities for employees. And those that feel developed and retained and welcomed in a safe and innovative environment will also attract talent. And in that way, bringing more innovation to the organization. So these laws that affect HR affect all the roles that are involved with human resources.
The nature of human resource management. The emergence of human resource management can be attributed to the writings of the human religionists who attached great significance to the human factor. Lawrence Apply remarked, "Management is personnel administration. This view is partially true as management is concerned with the efficient and effective use of both human as well as non-human resources." The nature of the human resource management has been highlighted in its following features. Inherent part of management. Human resource management is inherent in the process of management. This function is performed by all the managers throughout the organization rather than by the personnel department only. Pervasive function. Human resource management is a pervasive function of management. It is performed by all managers at various levels in the organization, basic to all functional areas. Human resource management permeates all the functional area of management such as production management, financial management, and marketing management. People-centered. Human resource management is people-centered and is relevant in all types of organizations. It is concerned with all categories of personnel from top to the bottom of the organization. Personal activities or functions. Human resource management involves several functions concerned with the management of people at work. It includes manpower planning, employment, placement, training, appraisal, and compensation of the employees. Continuous process. Human resource management is not a one-shot function. It must be performed continuously if the organizational objectives are to be achieved smoothly. Based on human relations. Human resource management is concerned with the motivation of human resources in the organization. The human beings cannot be dealt with like physical factors of production. Every person has different needs, perceptions, and expectations. Personnel management versus human resource management. Human resource management derives its origin from the practices of the earlier personnel management, which assisted in the management of the people in an organization setup. Human resource management leverages setting up the systems and procedures for ensuring efficiency, controlling and providing equality of opportunities for all working for the organization. Human resource management differs from personnel management both in scope and orientation. The HRM views people as an important source or an asset to be used for the benefit of the organization, employees, and society. It is emerging as a distinct philosophy of management aiming at policies that promote mutuality, mutual goals, mutual respect, mutual rewards, and mutual responsibilities. Scope of HRM. The scope of HRM refers to all the activities that come under the banner of human resource management. These activities are as follows. Human resources planning. Human resource planning refers to a process by which the company to identify the number of jobs vacant, whether the company has excess staff or shortage of staff, and to deal with this excess or shortage. Job analysis design. Another important area of human resource management is job analysis. Recruitment and selection. Based on the information collected from job analysis, the company prepares advertisements and publishes them in the newspaper. Orientation and induction. Once the employees have been selected, an induction or orientation program is conducted. This is another important area of HRM. Training and development. Every employee goes under training program which helps him to put up a better performance on the job. Training program is also conducted for existing staff that have a lot of experience. This is called refresher training. Performance appraisal. The human resource department checks the performance of the employee. Compensation planning and remuneration. There are various rules regarding compensation and other benefits. It is the job of the human resource department to look into the remuneration and compensation planning. Motivation, welfare, health and safety. Motivation becomes important to sustain the number of employees in the company. It is the job of the human resource department to look into the different methods of motivation. Industrial relations. Another important area of human resource management is maintaining coordinal relations with the union members. This will help the organization to prevent strikes, lockouts, and ensure smooth working in the company. The objectives of human resource management. The basic objective of human resource management is to contribute to the realization of the organizational goals. However, the specific objectives of human resource management are as follows. To ensure effective utilization of human resources, all other organizational resources will be efficiently utilized by the human resources. To establish and maintain an adequate organizational structure of the relationship among all the members of an organization by dividing of the organization tasks into functions, positions, and jobs, and by defining clearly the responsibility, accountability, authority for each job and its relation with other jobs in the organization. to generate maximum development of the human resources within the organization by offering opportunities for advancement to employees through training and education. To ensure reconciliation of individual groups' goals with those of the organization in such a manner that the personnel feel a sense of commitment and loyalty towards it. To identify and satisfy the needs of individuals by offering various monetary and non-monetary rewards. In order to achieve the above objectives, human resource management undertakes the following activities. Human resource planning, that is determining the number and the kinds of personnel required to fill various positions in the organization. Recruitment, selection and placement of personnel, that is employment function. Training and development of employees for their efficient performance and growth. The appraisal of performance of employees and taking corrective steps such as transfer from one job to another. Motivation of workforce by providing financial incentives and avenues of promotion. Remuneration of employees. The employees must be given sufficient wages and fringe benefits to achieve higher standard of living and to motivate them to show higher productivity. Social security and welfare of employees. Now let's talk about the functions of human resource management. The main functions of human resource management are classified into two categories: managerial functions and operative functions. Managerial functions. Following are the managerial functions of human resources management. Planning. The planning function of the human resource management or the department pertains to the steps taken in determining in advance personnel requirements, personnel programmers, policies, etc. Organization. Under organization, the human resource manager has to organize the operative functions by designing the structure of relationships among the jobs, the personnel and the physical factors in such a way so as to have maximum contribution towards the organizational objectives. Directing. Directing is concerned with the initiation of organized action and stimulating the people to work. The personnel manager directs the activities of people of the organization to get its function performed properly. A personnel manager guides and motivates the staff of the organization to follow the path laid down in advance. Controlling. It provides basic data for establishing standards, makes job analysis and performance appraisal, etc. All these techniques assist in effective control of the qualities, time and the efforts of workers. Operative functions. The following are the operative functions of human resource management. Procurement of personnel. It is concerned with the obtaining of the proper kind and the number of personnel necessary to accomplish the organizational goals. The development of personnel. Development has to do with the increase through training skill that is necessary for proper job performance. In this process, various techniques of training are used to develop the employees. Compensation to the personnel. Compensation means determination of the adequate and equitable remuneration of personnel for their contribution to the organization objectives. Maintaining good industrial relation. Human resource management covers a wide field. It is intended to reduce strifes, promote industrial peace, provide fair deal to workers and establish industrial democracy. It is the personnel manager is unable to make harmonious relations between the management and the labor. Industrial unrest will take place and millions of man days will be lost. Record keeping. In record keeping, the personnel manager collects and maintains information that is concerned with the staff of the organization. It is essential for every organization because it assists the management in decision making, such as in promotions. Personnel planning and evaluation. Under this system, different types of activities are evaluated, such as the evaluation of performance, personnel policy of an organization and its practices, personal audit, morale, survey and performance appraisal, etc. Did you know that HRM originated in manufacturing industry in the USA during the late 1970s and the early 1980s? The importance of human resource management. The importance of personnel management is in reality the importance of labor functions of the personnel department, which are indispensable to the management activity itself. Because of the following reasons, human resource management holds a place of importance. It helps management in the preparation, adoption and the continuing evolution of personnel programs and policies. It supplies skilled workers through scientific selection process. It ensures maximum benefit out of the expenditure on training and development and appreciates the human assets. It prepares workers according to the changing needs of industry and environment. It motivates workers and upgrades them so as to enable them to accomplish the organization goals. Through innovation and experimentation in the fields of personnel, it helps in reducing costs and helps in increasing productivity. It contributes a lot in restoring the industrial harmony and healthy employer-employee relations. it establishes mechanisms for the administration of personnel services that are delegated to the personnel department. The legacy of HRM. The legacy of HRM needs to be analyzed from two different perspectives to get a better insight into its nature. The origin of HRM as is known today date back to ancient times. One finds a reference of HR policy as early as 400 BC when the Chaldeans had a sound incentive wage plan. All that has changed over the years is the status of the employees, their roles and relationships interpersonal and intergroup. The status of labor prior to Industrial Revolution was extremely low and the relationships were characterized by slavery, serfdom and guild system. The slaves performed manual tasks to agricultural, military and clerical responsibilities. Now let's explore the human resource development. The people management policies and practices which are usually termed. These represented a significant break with the personnel management paradigm. A number of factors led to this new management thinking, principally loss of faith in the traditional approach to mass production. The example of Japanese work organization and manufacturing processes and the realization of the impact of new technology on work practices. In an increasingly competitive global economy with advancing technology and better educated workforces, it was not enough to manage people reactively or passively. In the industries that mattered, competitive advantage now ultimately came not from the capital investment but from the human resources, and these had to be managed proactively and strategically if an organization was to be successful. HRM was regarded as superior to personnel management or personnel administration, partly because it was supposed to be strategic in two senses. The function itself was conceived of in strategic rather than reactive ways, and the HRM strategy would be intimately linked to and consciously supportive of overall business and cooperative strategies. Challenges before HRM. A large number of multinational organizations have grown over the years. The number of people working in the organization has also increased. The management of increased workforce might create new problems and challenges as the workers are becoming more conscious of their right. Increase in education level. The governments of various countries are taking steps to eradicate illiteracy and increase the education level of their citizens. Educated consumers and workers will create very tough tasks for the future managers. Technological advances. With the changes coming in the wake of advanced technology, new jobs are created and many old jobs become redundant. There is a general apprehension of immediate unemployment. In the competitive world of today, industry cannot hope to survive for long with old technology. The changes in political environment. There may be greater government's interference in business to safeguard the interest of the workers, the consumers and the public at large. Government's participation in trade, commerce and industry will also pose many challenges before the management. Increasing aspirations of employees. Considerable changes have been noted in the workers of today in comparison to his counterparts of 1950s. The workers are becoming more aware of their higher level needs, and this awareness would intensify further in the future workers. Changing psychological system. In future, organizations will be required to make use of advanced technology in accomplishing their goals while satisfying human needs. In the traditional bureaucratic model, the organizations were designed to achieve technical functions with a little consideration given to the psychosocial system. Computerized information system. In the past, the automation of manufacturing processes had a major effect upon the systems of production, storage, handling and packaging, etc. More recently, there has been, and in the future there will be, the impact of revolutionary computerized information system on management. The role of human resource management. Human resource management in the new millennium has undergone a great revolution by questioning the accepted practices and reinventing the organizations as well as the structures. Many traditional practices have been thrown out. As an example, it can be seen that hierarchies are vanishing and there is greater emphasis on the flat organizations. It means a great deal of specialization and skills. It also means upgrading the norms and standards of work as well as performance. Some of the new directions of the role of HRM can be summed up as a facilitator of change. To carry people through upheaval requires the true management of human resources. An integrated approach to management, rather than being an isolated function, human resource is regarded as a core activity, which shapes a company's values. In particular, this can have an impact on the customer service. A mediator, establishing and balancing the new and emerging aspirations and the requirements of the company and the individual. These changes which are taking place involve more commitment of the organization to the development of people by improving the performance and cutting costs. Now, in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. Human resource management is a process which consists of four main activities, namely acquisition, development, motivation, as well as maintenance of the human resources. The basic objective of human resource management is to contribute to the realization of the organizational goals. Human resource management derives its origin from the practices of the earlier personnel management, which assisted in the management of the people in an organization setup. The governments of various countries are taking steps to eradicate illiteracy and increase the education level of their citizens. Educated consumers and workers create a very tough task for the future managers. The origin of HRM as is known today date back to ancient times. One finds a reference of HR policy as early as 400 BC, when the Chaldeans had a sound incentive wage plan. The slavery structure was replaced by serfdom, where neither slaves nor hired laborers. The structure was related to rural and agrarian pursuits.